Hello, welcome back. I'm trying out new sound this week, so hopefully I sound better. So this week, I promised that I didn't promise. Did I promise? I probably promised. I'll look back that that I'd do the bridge on the drawing this week. Right. So I had more on this middle building to do than I thought I did. It's Friday now. I've spent the afternoon finishing this. Spent the morning doing my coursework. Spent the afternoon finishing this middle building off. So I had quite a bit left to do in the middle, to do at the bottom. So I'd done these bits, and then this week I've like finished off all the window detailing. It's taken quite a long time to do all of that. And then I realised that I'd like traced in parts of this bottom floor. I'd put the windows in, but I just hadn't done any of the details like these under bits, the brickwork sort of marks, and I just hadn't done any of it. And it's taken quite a long time to do that. Actually, it's taken most of this afternoon to do this, and I've darkened the windows a bit more as well. I might go in and do another layer on them. I'm not sure yet, but for now, I'm quite happy with how this central building looks. I'm going to do the bridge. I realised I haven't done the sky. I should have started with the sky. And there isn't a lot to it. It's clouds. I'm going to keep it as clouds. I should have started with the sky. So, like I said, I've not done the sky. I just completely. I don't know why. I just completely didn't think about it. I should have started with it. And I'm gonna use graphite dust for it. I've shown graphite dust briefly on this channel before. I've never fully gone into it. I'm gonna take this opportunity to go into graphite dust a little bit more, do the sky, show you that, show you using a putty rubber as well, and then I'm gonna do the bridge. The sky I don't anticipate taking too long. I will probably have to come back and retouch the sky anyway. So I'll do it. I'll do the initial first go at it, and then because of where it is and because I'm going to be using graphite powder or graphite dust on it, I will probably end up disrupting, smudging it, going over it in some places and having to just touch it up later on anyway. So I'm not going to get too hung up on getting it perfect first time around, but I need to lie the easel down for this, so I'm going to do that. Okay, so I've got a slightly angelic glow from my easel lamp because the easel's laid down now, but I've got um, the easel laid down now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use graphite sticks. So I've got some Derwent graphite sticks. In this box, they come in 6. So these are pigmented graphite sticks. You can buy very easily the grey ones. So there's a softer one and a harder one. See, they're 2 different slightly shades. The softer one, well, it's very soft and soft here. So the softer one, really soft, quite dark, leaves quite a lot of colour on the paper. The soft one, not as soft, but still soft, just leaves a bit of a lighter colour on the paper. The pigmented ones, I've used them quite a lot in other things. For the bridge, I'm going to use I'm going to mix them almost like paints, but I'll show you that when we get to it. For the sky, I'm just going to use the 2 grey, and I'll show you how we use them. You can buy graphite powder or graphite dust just in little sachets of the powder ready to go. If you buy a stick, you get more for your money, and you can also actually draw with the stick if you wanted to as well, or use it like a giant crayon, whatever you want to do. So to use the graphite sticks, I'm just going to show you what we can do. I've put this little bit of scrap paper down over my drawing, and I've just popped my tin on top of that. I just don't want any bit of graphite that might be stuck to the tin getting on my drawing. I'd rather get on that scrap bit of paper. I've got as well 2 jam jar lids. They've already got, so in previous drawings I've used graphite powder and I've not needed all of it, so I've popped it in, scraped them off, ready to use, and I put it in jam jar lids and then pop it to the side when I don't need it anymore. So this is the very soft one, which is the darker one, and this is the very light one. Now what you can do is take your graphite stick. I'll take the very soft one for now, and you can, with a knife, you just very lightly scratch it onto your drawing, and you can just rub it in directly from there, or you can scratch a bit off into a little dish like that, and then take it out and rub it on from there. You can even use like a swab, like a cotton swab to rub it on. You can use a paintbrush. Sometimes I use a very loose paintbrush to rub it on, or you can just use your fingers. I just use my fingers usually, and just get straight in there. It will get on your hands if you touch the graphite stick, obviously. So just be aware that you try and keep a dirty hand and a clean hand is what I'm doing if I'm working with clean paper and graphite. So I've scratched it straight onto there. So this hand's a bit dirty because this is what I've been holding the graphite stick with. And what you do is you just rub it in, and that's all. I know in previous videos I've said I really don't like it when people smudge to shade. Now this is different. I'm not smudging to shade. I'm spreading the graphite around, and you can feel as well when you do it. You know it's sticking on the paper because you can see the colour, but you can feel as well that there's parts that it's still quite loose, and it can be quite hard to spread the very loose parts around. So with a fine paintbrush, not a fine paintbrush, sorry, with a soft paintbrush, what you can do is move it around a little bit. So I've got one here, and I use this paintbrush just for moving graphite. You can see it's a bit dark on the end. I don't use it for paint anymore. And you probably won't be able to pick this up on the camera, but I'm just very lightly moving some of the graphite around with the paintbrush. And this is more just to get the most out of it. It means that there's no loose bits of graphite floating around. I'm moving the loose graphite to where I want it, and I can move it onto the paper without it later flying around. Now, what I should have done before I started this is lightly mask off some of the areas, probably. If you're feeling like you're going to get a bit messy and you want a few detailed areas preserved, it's worth masking bits off. So just have a bit of masking tape, and you don't really want this to stick down. I'm just going to pop over the straight edge. Now, it's not massively necessary to do this. I'm just going to do this to show you it more than anything, because these areas are going to be coloured in anyway, and this area isn't going to be too dark, so there isn't going to be loads of graphite dust flying around. I'm just doing it to show you it, really. So this edge here is going to be a different colour, a slightly different method to this here, so I'm just masking it off. I could have masked off the whole border of it if I'd wanted to and started, and obviously not done this bit first, but I didn't. So right, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to carry on very lightly filling this area in. I've got as well a blending tool, which I very rarely use for blending. I normally actually just use it for graphite, a little bit of graphite. There's already graphite on here. I haven't actually needed to add any more. Anyway, that's just an option you can use as well. I don't use this very often. I might use it later on, we'll see. So I've done all three areas of the sky now. This area took a long time because I wanted to be sure not to go over the building too much. I should have done the sky first, like I've said, and then the building. I can go back in and add more detail in here if I need to later, or tidy it up later. I just didn't want to cause too much mess with the graphite. Up here, it was just a case of sticking it on. I have gone over a little bit of my reference marks, but it's not a big issue because this part of this building is against the sky and it's quite dark anyway. And over here, you can see as well, I've gone over some of the chimney reference points here. Again, it's not a worry. The graphite dust will rub out, and also I am going to go in there anyway. Okay, so I've just made sure that I've got as much of the loose stuff out of the way as possible. Like I say, don't blow on this while this pot's next to you, because it will just blow everywhere and you'll be stuck with loads of it. I might want to go in later and add a little bit more dark into this. I don't think I will. I think at the moment it's dark enough. I might just show you it for an example. I might go in with a bit of the softer stuff, and as you can see, that's left. It doesn't move around as much. It is a little bit thicker almost. It's left a bit of a thicker mark on it. It's the sky. The sky is cloudy, so I want it to be quite thin. I want it to be patchy. I don't want it to be a solid black. Quite often when you work with graphite powder, you're looking for more of a solid surface, and you work in negative space. So you take your rubber or your eraser or your putty and you work into the space to create an image. I'm using it in this instance, and it does get used a lot like this to create light and dark, to create clouds. People use it a lot to create shadows in drawings as well. So I'm going to get the different rubbers or erasers, depending on where you're from, and show you them now. So I've got now 3 different types of rubber or eraser. I've got a standard stick. I suppose it's filthy because I use it when I'm working with graphite quite a lot. What you can do with these is if you want to rub out quite a refined edge, you can slice a bit of these rubbers off and just be careful. But you can slice a little bit off, obviously it's clean underneath, and you can use that just to rub out very, very fine edges, very, very fine parts, and add a little bit of detail in. You can clean these, you can put them, you can wet them, wash them, do whatever you want. Or if you want it really clean, obviously you can rub off the end, or you can slice a little bit off the end to make it clean. So, like I say, if you want a little clean bit, you slice the end off there, being very careful with the knife, obviously. Give yourself a nice little wedge of it that you can use. And if you really need to tidy up some edges or get a fine line, you can use this to create a fine line with. I don't really need a fine line at the moment, so I don't want to do it too much. But that's one way you can use these rubbers. They're obviously quite hard, not very malleable. I've also got, and I've mentioned this before, my electric rubber. I love this. This can be used really well for working with graphite. So you can see this is worn down to a little nub now, but you get little refills with it. Okay, you take it out, stick that in the end there, and then you've got a rubber. And you can use these to create quite nice detail in graphite. So I've done a drawing before. I'll try and stick a picture of it in here, where I've covered the whole paper in graphite, and then I've gone in with the rubber, this rubber, and created the detail in the image by rubbing out lines. I don't really think I'm going to need this for this picture. I might do if I want to create, actually there's a little bit in the reference image that's quite bright, so what I'm going to do, I'll just show you quickly. You can just rub out a little reference line. You probably can't even see that from where you are, of just where I want that to be. What I'm going to use for this part, for graphite, for creating cloud looks, and I use this a lot when I work with graphite, it thins it out really well, you get really nice lines of it, this putty rubber. Now putty rubber comes wrapped in plastic or in a little plastic case normally. It looks like blue tack. You can use blue tack as well actually, but putty rubbers work better. If they get dirty, you can obviously stretch them and use a different part, but I'm going to use this to create a cloud look, and I'm going to do that. Let's try and zoom you in a little bit. Okay, so I've moved you a bit closer, so hopefully you can see. I've got this putty rubber, and I'm going to try and use it to create the cloud effect. So we've got the dark bits of cloud. It's a cloudy sky, so you know what it's like when you've got a thicker bit of cloud. It's darker, where the cloud's thinner, it's lighter. So I'm just going to try and replicate that. And I'm not going to go in there rubbing away. I don't need to rub backwards and forwards. I'm just going to dab away at parts of the graphite, moving the rubber around as well. The rubber will change shape as you use it because it's putty. Let it do that. It'll create a nice sort of organic, natural look. And you kind of want to be moving in sort of semicircular motions, moving the graphite around a bit. You're trying to thin it out more than you are trying to get rid of it, just to create the effect of swirling clouds and light coming through certain parts of the cloud as well. Now, if you think that you've gone a bit too hard and you don't like it and you want to make it a bit darker again, remember you're using graphite dust, so you can literally just colour it back in again. And again, try and remember to have a hand that you use for graphite and a hand that you use for clean work. So I'm going to use my left hand for the graphite, for any moving of graphite, and I'm going to use my right hand for the rubber. So I didn't like that bit, so I've just covered it back in again. So again, like I say, use different edges, make different shapes of it. So I've squished it into a bit of a point there, and just use that to create nice lines in the clouds and swirls, and use the flatter bits to create wider areas, change the shape of it, and so on. So I'm just going to keep working away at this. Okay, so I've used this to sort of create lighter areas and move the graphite around a little bit and create some sort of cloud effects. And what I've also done is I've turned it into a bit of a ball, and then I've just gone along and just dabbed paper with it as well. And it just picks up the graphite really well, and that's just to soften some of the edges a bit. So I don't want it to look too harsh. I don't want the clouds to look cartoonish. And the more that you dab, the more the area of putty picks up. So it makes it a bit softer and makes the marks a little less harsh as well, which is quite good. If you don't want them to be too, like I say, if you don't want them to leave a big print, then picking up a bit of graphite can actually do a lot of good and just create a bit of a softer effect. So rather than reshaping the graphite, the putty, using the putty to actually move the graphite, to pick up the graphite, and use them combined as a tool as well, and that's really helpful. I'm actually quite happy with that as it is. For now, I don't need it to be, like I say, it's a very washy sky. It's quite cloudy sky. There's no sort of blue sky showing underneath. It is cloudy, and that looks, for now, like a cloudy sky. Like I say, I might need to come back to this later once I've finished the drawing it or finished the bridge and the areas around it. I might need to come back to this area later just to make sure that it's looking okay and I've not smudged it too much. But this area now is going to be, it's still graphite. It's not fixed down. It's just on the paper. So I am going to need to be careful when I'm drawing the rest of the drawing in now, that I don't smudge this, get it on my hand and smudge it into the rest of the drawing. So that's something to just be aware of. Just take this off as well. Show you there, that's left a nice clean line. So I didn't need to do that because I am going to be graphite in this area too. But I did it just to show you that it can leave a nice clean line if you need it to. So for this bridge part, I want to give it a green blue hue. So in the reference image, this bridge is quite, it's almost a teal colour. And I want that to show in the picture. I want this to have a bit of colour to it. I don't want any of the rest of the image to have any colour to it. I just want this bridge to have a bit of a hue to it. So what I'm going to do for that, I'm going to take, so these are pigmented graphites, so there's different colours here. I'm going to take some of the green, some of the blue and some of the grey and mix it a little bit and give it a layer over the top. I want to try and make a series of drawings like this that are a black and white picture but with an element of colour to it. So again, I'm just putting a little bit of scrap paper down here, and I'm going to use the lid of the tin just to scrape a bit of the graphite into. I'm going to start with the blue. I'm going to put a reasonable amount in there. I want it quite fine and powdery. So if you use the knife at different angles, it'll scrape it off in different ways. If you do it quite lightly like that across the top, it'll do it quite powdery. You can do it, if you do it quite jagged, it'll do it in bigger chunks. So you want it to be quite smooth. Okay, a little bit of the green, not too much. We just want it to have a little bit of a hue to it. And then I'm going to use very soft graphite. And again, just very lightly over the top. And obviously this isn't going to mix and blend like paint will. But if we just mix the powders together, just sort of almost mash them a little bit with the brush, it helps break down a bit of the graphite. So I'm mixing them together like you might a powder paint, for example. Now that I can just test it on this bit of paper as well. There we go. That's got quite a nice blue hue to it. There's a little tiny bit of green in there. It's not too dark. It's not grey. It's blue. So this is what I'm going to use. It's quite a large area, this, but the graphite does go quite far. So, and I do want this to be a fairly even coverage as well. So hopefully we'll get that. I'll smooth you up a bit. Remember, you want to try and keep a clean hand and a dirty hand. So I'm going to use my left hand to rub it in I'm not pressing too hard at all. I'm just moving it around. If you press really hard, that's when it sticks. It's when it really sticks in. So first, you just want to move it around a little bit and get a nice little bit of coverage. So I'm just filling this bit here as well. I realise that that's actually part of the bridge too. So what I'm going to do now is clear this desk up a bit. It gets pretty messy quick. I'm going to stand the easel back up, and then we're going to start drawing in the detail. So I'm going to have to remark some of the reference points. I can just about see them. I'm going to have to remark some of them. And then I'm going to start adding in the detail and shading of this. Hi, so we're nearing the end of the weekend now. I didn't do any work on this on Saturday. I went out, I was in Manchester on Saturday. I visited the Turner show at the Whitworth, which was really cool. I probably can't put too much of it in this video, but I'll put like a little clip in of the Turner show that I went to see. It was really lovely. It shuts, I think it's like next weekend, maybe the weekend after, so like early mid-February. So if you're in the area of Manchester, then I would recommend going and seeing that. There was also another cool show on in there. I'd recommend just going and have a look around. It was really good, but it meant that I didn't get anything done on this on Saturday. I did a bit on Sunday, and you can probably see here I've masked off. I don't want to take it off too much, but I've masked off the rest of the drawing. You can probably see it a bit under there with a bit of the sky, and then I've just masked that off while I work on the main body of the bridge. Now you can see in this video I've managed to remark out a lot of the girders. I could see a little bit through the graphite where they were, so I've managed to remark them out. I didn't actually mark out originally a lot of the detail on the bridge. I don't know why. I think actually no, I don't think I do know why. This edge is curved, like almost bathtub shaped down the edge. And that I remember thinking, oh, that's going to be hard, and then leaving it the first time I didn't do it. As you can see, I've lightly marked them out now. I'm not 100% happy with that. I spent quite a long time on that yesterday, and I'm still not happy with it, so I'm probably going to redo that again. I know that last week I said I'll have this bridge done this week. I haven't done it. I haven't finished it. There's a lot more to it than but that's where I'm at with this drawing this week. Hopefully next week it'll be done. I appreciate it's probably, by the time I put this all together, it's probably going to be quite a long episode. But I wanted to show you what I was doing. I also said that when I started this drawing, I wanted to tell you what I was doing in this drawing, why I was doing it, how I was doing it, and so I've tried to include a lot of that as well. And I also wanted to tell you about the Turner show before it goes away. So that's it for this week. It's been quite a long one. I think this might have been quite a long one. If it hasn't been quite a long one, then ignore that and move on. But thanks for watching, as always. Have a lovely week, and hopefully see you soon. Thank you. And give me a like if you like the video. Thank you.